Hello, and welcome to our webinar called Stream Smarter. Your streaming analytics are telling a story that could be your next breakthrough. Hi there, I'm Phil Thompson. I will introduce our host here in just a moment, but I do want to say thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us on this webinar. We're glad that you are with us here. We're going to go for probably about 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, and we will have a live Q&A. But we're going to talk about, well, the importance of digital ministry. Uh, we know it's challenging at times. We know that it's not as easy as it seems. And so we've got some answers, hopefully some answers that will help your church and your ministry. So stay with us here. Again, we're glad you're here. And speaking of webinars, we have done a lot of webinars over the years. We're a streaming company. We're streamingchurch.tv. But we have other products, which we'll tell you about later. And we have other webinars that we have done. So keep this in your back pocket, but check out our past webinars. You can simply do that by going to streamingchurch.tv/resources or streamingchurch.tv/webinar. And you'll take you right there to the webinars we've done. So we've done a lot of those over the years, and they're there to help you and help your ministry. All right, so let's introduce our host. I'll just go ahead and do it for them since I'm the maitre d' here because I'm dressed like one, right? You like my you guys like my red shirt?
Very nice.
Well, thank you so much.
It's very dashing.
Well, thank you. All right, so Steve Lacey is our founder, our CEO of streamingchurch.tv. He has got a ton of experience working in tech and with ministries. He's not been a pastor like we have, but not been on staff, but he has been on leadership teams over the years on boards, and he currently serves his church as well. And so he will be here with us, as well as Mr. Michael Gray, who I work with in ministry in the pastoral area. He does now our tech support and also our marketing at streamingchurch.tv. He also has some really cute dogs, which we'll have on the webinar here in a little bit. But in all seriousness, Mike's been involved in ministry for a long time and has been involved in also helping ministries and companies in marketing. And you've got me, who I have a history of being involved in starting ministries and being a senior pastor as well as an executive pastor. And I've been working with streamingchurch.tv now for many, many years. So with that in mind, let's get rocking and rolling here. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Are you connecting and growing online? Now, this is important because if you don't know by now, billions of people, well, maybe not billions, but millions of people, maybe billions, are online all the time. And Jesus went to wherever people were. You see that all throughout Scripture. And I think it's our responsibility as leaders, as people involved in our church, to go where people are. Let me share with you just a few stats. This is from Pew Research. There are over 3.3 billion people worldwide who watch videos online. So I was right about the billion number, right? Video makes up 82% of all internet traffic. Well, that was in 2022. And now in this age, in 2025, according to Pew, it's over 90%. And when you talk about time spent online, internet users aged 16 to 64 spend an average of 7 hours per day online. And this is increasing, okay? And there's more stats. I mean, I don't want to go on here too long, but we'll say this. When it comes to engagement, which is what we really want to talk about today, engagement and retention when it comes to analytics, viewers retain 95% of a message when watching it on video, compared to 10% through just text. So videos also have a 52% higher chance of being shared than any other content. And let me share one little analogy here, because this is what we're getting at here in a moment. I used to know a gal who was a great cook. She was Italian, and she made wonderful spaghetti. One of the things that she would do when she would test to see if the spaghetti was ready was she would take a strand of it out of the pot and throw it against the wall. If the spaghetti stuck to the wall, it was ready. If it didn't, then, she would keep on cooking it. Fortunately, today, us online, with many of us who are involved in our churches, we can't have that same approach. We're just throwing stuff online, hoping that it sticks, hoping that what we post maybe gets some reaction. But the truth is, that's not the way to do it. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. The core problem here is guessing does not work. And Mr. Michael Gray, talk to us a little bit about why guessing doesn't work.
Like the spaghetti analogy, you can guess what is or isn't good about your stream, but most of the time you're going to be wrong. The other thing that you have no shortage of is opinions. There's a lot of things you can say about opinions. You've heard a few yourself. But opinions or guesses are not what you want to build a solid strategy on. So you've got to build on something solid, on something that you can count on, and swing and a miss if you're guessing all the way through. Yeah,
Doesn't work, does it? Guessing just doesn't work.
I get you. We used to drive me crazy. We would get in meetings, and the team would say, "Well, it felt good to me," and I'm like, "Okay, feeling good, okay." Granted, we don't want it to feel bad, but at the same time, your feelings aren't as good as something with real data.
Yeah. Yeah. And the problem with this is when you're guessing or you're just kind of going out there throwing stuff on, you miss connections, possible connections with people. You miss the opportunity to have deeper relationships because it's very possible online. So data matters, right? I mean, that's what you're telling us, Michael. Data matters.
Absolutely.
It matters. Why data matters for your church? Well, as you just said, understanding your audience, right?
Yep. A perfect example is just a small one is I meet with a lot of folks because I do tech support. So often Sunday I'm online and I'm asking what's your encoder set at and what's your bit rate set at. And then I typically will go take a look at their analytics that are built into streamingchurch.tv. And I'll look at what's the breakdown in the kind of devices they're using. So, they're running at a TV quality bit rate, and 70% of their attenders are on a phone. So you're wasting all of that bit rate, and you've got people on a phone who aren't able to receive that giant signal you're pushing out there. So you want to get real-time data about what's happening on your platform and understand, is it or is it not answering, as it says here, your church's mission? What is your plan? What is your strategy? What is your mission for your church online? And does that data agree with or argue with what you plan to do? So we're moving from assumptions, which everybody knows those are bad, right? Assumptions are bad. That's all we're going to say about those.
Here's what I say. Assumptions are the lowest form of communication. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. When you assume, things are going to go off the rail, you want to move to informed, data-driven decision.
Absolutely. And that's what we're talking about today on how this can help. So how do we get there? How do we get this? How do we get data-driven solutions? How do we get analytics? Well, we do have the solution, and I'm going to assume here that Mr. Steve Lacey is going to share his screen because the Digital Ministry RX is an AI-powered tool that we're going to talk about today that's designed to help churches leverage their digital and their streaming data to enhance their ministry's impact. That's the idea here. And Mr. Steve Lacey, tell us a little more about this Digital Ministry RX.
All right. So we are fortunate, and if you are streaming, you're fortunate that you have a lot of data that I think you're probably not taking advantage of. So there's a ton of data about who's coming, how often they're coming, who's coming back, who's watching your on-demand stuff, and all that sort of thing. So what we've done here at streamingchurch.tv is we're leveraging the power of some AI with some of your church's unique data in order to have this system go through and make some recommendations. This thing is not all knowing, but it's good to be able to go in here and get an assessment from an independent third party just based on your data and where you want to go as a ministry. So this thing starts out like this. I'm on our streamingchurch.tv admin panel, and right now I'm a member of a live church here in Tucson, Arizona. Been part of it for a long time, and this thing's going to go through and ask you initially, where do you want to go, or what do you want to be? So we broke them into 3 different categories, and this is consistent with our media mentoring friend that has kind of put these churches into 3 different categories. And the categories are kind of a maintenance one mode. And that's basically, I want to enhance the spiritual maturity of those that are committed to my church. They're my family, they're my friends. I can make mistakes with them, but I want to grow them. That's my target. The next target is those in my community that may not be exposed to my church yet, and they're looking for answers. So I want to attract those that are local to me. And then third area, and these are kind of just general categories, is I just want to preach the gospel. I don't want to preach the gospel on the web, but however it takes, I'll reach anybody anywhere with just the gospel. So for our church, I would put us in this second category. We want to reach those that are in my community. And you basically just you choose your goal, and then the system will go back and it's going to go out and query your church's website. And this may take it a minute, hopefully not too long. And so it's going to gather.
Just to clarify here, you're the admin for streamingchurch.tv. A live church has streamingchurch.tv as their streaming provider. So you're in the admin control panel that a live church has access to. And this is where you're working.
Yes. So I'm going to go through, I think it's 4 steps here. First step is just identify my goal. Second step is just describe my ministry and where I want to be with it. And we've employed some AI to help you draft your church description and goals. And it went out to the web, looked at alivechurch.com, queried the website, and then came back and gave me an overview of Alive Church is a vibrant community dedicated. Our mission is leading people to be fully alive in Jesus. We have a big thing that we lead, trade, and send. So it kind of gathered this information from the website. And now I have the ability to go in here, and our vision is see lives transformed as people become followers of Christ. So, and it's got some values. This is all just pulled from the website. And I had the ability
edit this, right? You could go
so
in
I
here
can
and
go
edit
in
it. Got it
and
wrong.
yes, I can go in and edit this thing and say that's not quite right, or I want to add my own sentence, or but what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe my ministry. So I'm going to go ahead and update this ministry goal and description, and then the system's going to go out. And so I've kind of defined kind of the soft stuff around my church, what my goal of my church is. I've described my church, and this is some of the hard data around my church. And so it shows me average weekly attendance. It looks like we're having around over 300 people a week. Their average attendance is attending for 33 minutes. These guys have been with us for a while, and they really take advantage of the media vault. So there's on-demand items. These are recorded sermons. These are also some recorded tools for the children's and youth ministry. So there's a big, large set of things. So there's just a ton of stats here about.
And all of this is online stuff. This is the online stuff. This is not, when you say 311 people, that's online.
Yes, that is those that attend online. This is online only. So this is just all the data based on my church stats. And as we walk through, how to gather some other stats that would be important for putting together Digital Ministry RX, I'll show you how to do that as well. So,
and just I want to let people know, I'm sure people are looking at this and it looks really nice and shiny, but there's probably some questions people have. So type in your questions in the chat here, and we'll do some Q&A here towards the end.
And so we can see some things that kind of jump out is we have 220 first timers in the past 30 days. That means they're doing pretty good at reaching my community and getting people to check us out online. So the next piece here is create my Digital Ministry RX. And so this thing's it may take it a minute or three to go out and grab my goal that I have for my ministry, my description I had for my ministry, and all of these stats. And then it's going to compare them against, it's going to make some recommendations, and it's going to break them into some categories. So the categories are just kind of giving a summary of the stats and kind of state of the church. Another area is some short-term wins, some low-hanging fruit, some things that I can do right away that will help my online ministry. And then there's going to be some things that are recommended that may take a little bit longer, may take 2 to 6 months. And so it's going to make some recommendations in that area, and then some longer term things, that may be focus on this, focus on that. So as this thing cranks away,
Okay.
it will come
Oh,
back.
there it is. So it just did it.
It is back.
Okay.
And so it has, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying. So I just want to recap here. Maybe I'm being annoying, but so it looks at what you say your vision for your church is. Then it looks at the stats from your online, and then it's going to say, hey, is this lining up with what you said you wanted the vision to be, or is it not quite lining up?
Right. That's true as well. Yeah, it may come back and say, hey, you say you want to be a global missionary outreach, and some of these stats don't line up with that. Either I need to refocus, or I need to work in these various areas. So an executive summary is the first part of this. The church profile and vision alignment, do things look like they are good? Gives a breakdown on current strengths, areas to improve upon, and then identifies the key online goals, which are connect with Tucson area seekers, which is who aren't in church or haven't been exposed to our church. So then it's got a section here that says data-driven insights and analysis, which basically just kind of summarizes and kind of a snapshot what the basic stats were for your church. And this is a key one that it highlights, is the quick wins and near-term recommendations. So it's telling me to turn on my automated follow-up tool. I don't have that enabled on this platform, and that's the thing that will allow you to follow up with visitors automatically. Some other suggestions here, and you can kind of look at it, and you're the expert in your church, right? So you'll have the ability to go in and say, now that makes sense, or that doesn't make sense, or just like bringing in any third party that has some expertise in a certain area. Some recommendations might ring true with you, and some others may think, no, that might not work for us. So anyway, so there's section 4 is the quick terms and near miss, or quick wins and near term recommendations. And then this thing also folds in, because we've got a staff here. This is obviously running based on a church that is participating with streamingchurch.tv. And we've got a wealth of resources amongst us three and others on our team, as well as people that we've partnered with. And so one of the key ones we've partnered with is mediamentoring.net. Phil's going to talk about that later. But there's some resources out there that are free to you. And so that basically gives you some ways that you can target those resources and reach out to those resources to help your church. So it's got targeted local digital marketing. We've got a ton of experience with marketing. Not only you've been senior pastor of the church, figured out different marketing routes. You have your favorite that worked, for you a while ago. And then we have a business we've run where we've done a bunch of marketing. Mike's our marketing lead for our company here. So there's some resources that may be untapped. And then the last piece is an intermediate long-term or intermediate plan, and then an implementation roadmap. This is what I can do in the first 3 months, first month, 6 to 12 months. So this is available, and then some suggested metrics. If you employ these recommendations, here's what you should start measuring, and to see if you're moving towards your goal.
Nice.
So with some
I like
goals
that.
with those.
Yeah, that's good. Awesome.
All right, I will turn it.
This is for people that are streamingchurch.tv customers. And if you're not a customer, well, you're missing out, but we'll give you a chance if you want to be a customer. But what if you're not a customer? I mean,
So
what happens
there's
next?
I'll turn it back over to you. We've got a couple of slides, and
Yes,
there
we
you
do.
go.
So
Yes,
there is a thing called DIY. DIY. What does that stand for? Oh, do it yourself. So is there, if you're not a streamingchurch.tv customer, and why wouldn't you want to be, but let's say you're not, you could do something very similar yourself, right? Am I right about that?
exactly. So I'm going to walk you through. You don't have the all your data gathered in a system that makes it this report inside of a couple of minutes. I'm going to show you how you can do this yourself for
Okay.
your
All
own
right.
ministry.
All right.
So
So
the steps remain the same. So if you go on to the next slide here, is the first piece of this is go ahead and pull up all the different
let's go
options
through all
here.
these up here. Yeah. Because
Yeah, that's a good idea. So again, I talked about these as well. You want to define your ministry goal, and I talked about the maintenance or maturity, where I'm most interested in the maturity of my local flock. I want to reach my community. I want to be missional. Or you can write your own ministry goal. So this should be at least a few sentences long on defining your goal for your church. And once you do that, then, let's see, then the next step here is to create the vision and definition of your church. So a good way to do this is just go, if you're familiar with any of the AI tools out there, you can go to Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT and go in and just basically say, using my church website, which should reflect the personality and goals of my church, create my vision and definition for my church. And I had done that we just did that automatically for a live church. But you can just go in and put in the URL of the church and write out a prompt. You just basically go in ChatGPT or any other tool and say, hey, based on the information found at this website, put in your URL. Please provide what you would describe as the vision and definition of this particular church. And it'll go out and analyze that site, come back and provide you with a sample. So let's go on to the next slide.
ChatGPT comes back and gives you the church vision and definition, but you can look at that and say, well, I want to change that a little bit. I want to modify that a little bit, right?
Exactly.
So there, you're not stuck there with that. All right. So let's talk about step 3 here. All right. So you got all this stuff that we just talked about, collect your streaming online demand stuff and your data, right?
Yes. So go through this data collection step. And I will show you here some resources that I have found. Let me see if I can
And while you're
share
doing that, is it data or data? I always thought it was
Well,
data.
it depends on where you live. So if you're on the Northeast, data, can you show me the data on that? Yeah. So these are some things that I put together with the help of ChatGPT. So some key church impact statistics to track. Number one, weekly worship attendance. How many adults, children? Track your trends. Are you going? You plateauing? You declining? What are your small groups looking like? Do I have small groups go? How many small groups are there? What percentage of people are in that? What's my volunteer health right now? What percentage of people of my congregation are serving on a team? How many new decisions for Christ am I having each year? What's the giving like? So these are just some stats that will help this tool, which is if you can gather this, it'll kind of give you the personality and kind of the state of the union of your church participation. Next steps engagement. How many people that once they move through the front door or they attend for once online, how many are coming back? How many are starting getting connected with the church, getting into a small group, getting to the point where they were start giving, that sort of thing. There's a progression of next steps that you want to track and have some data on. What's your outreach looking like? How engaged are your attenders? How often do they come?
And this stuff is so important because otherwise you're just kind of shooting in the dark. And as Mike was saying earlier, you're just guessing all the time. Here's just real quick while you're doing that, Steve. Here's the here's one way people can look at this as far as prompting the AI that they may be using to get to this stuff.
Yeah,
Just
so I'm going to
define.
give an example here real quick.
Okay. All
So
right.
there's, again, these 4 steps. Define where I want to go, get a definition of my church, gather my stats, and then what I want to do is compile all of that information into a prompt. And let me see if I can share my screen with a prompt that...
While you're doing that, people can look at this, and this will help. This is detail oriented, but you don't have to do it every day. But get these details down, and then it will make a big difference in what you're trying to do. Oh, look, there's a sample prompt.
Yes. So this, and we can share this with the audience if you want to email us, support@streamingchurch.tv. So there's somewhat of an art to prompting AI to get good answers. And we feel like this is a fairly finely tuned prompt that says act as a digital ministry consultant, which is one of the things you want to do when you're prompting AI. Says act as a car mechanic and evaluate my problem, or whatever it may be. Act as a digital ministry consultant for churches and provide professional recommendations. Generate a professional recommendation for this church, a live church located here. Create these categories of, an executive summary, profile and vision, some intermediate, some short term, some things there, and then go through and add in the description of a live church is as follows. So you would take that description that you did in step 2 actually, and put that in here as well. And then start providing some stats on my church. So we are averaging 400 adults in person and online. It's actually probably a little bit more than that. Our growth has been 5% annually. We have this much engagement, these many baptisms, this much giving participation. And you basically just take all of this stuff and copy it and paste it into a prompt at ChatGPT, and it will run through and provide a result.
Yeah, so you put all that stuff down on paper or on a document or something, and then you're going to copy and paste it into ChatGPT or Gemini. Or Mike, what's your favorite one? Yours is Claude, or no, what's your favorite one? Gronk or something? Mike likes
it's Grok.
Grok.
Grok. See
So
if
you're
I can
dropping
just...
that stuff in there into this AI thing, and then it's going to spit out some information.
Yes. And so here's my prompt that I put in, and it cranked for a good 5 to 10 minutes on this. And then it provided me the this report. And let's see if I can open this report. File is expired, but I
So
can
you did
go
this
and...
ahead of time, and it took
Yes.
5. Hey, who's that guy on a surfboard?
Yeah,
Who's
who
that
is
guy?
that guy?
And Steve's a surfer, in case anybody cares. I'm a wannabe surfer.
So here's, again, it looks similar to what we saw with the automated through streamingchurch.tv, but I went through and took all that data and created this report. So I will stop sharing here so we can go back to you, Phil.
So I just want to reiterate here. So you just did this. It was a do-it-yourself. You didn't use Digital Ministry RX. So if you weren't using streamingchurch.tv, you could do this yourself. I know we just did that, but you just did it yourself without using our Digital Ministry RX thing. So that's pretty cool. So what is the benefit to all this? Well, you're going to boost or boast, depending on what part of the country you live in, engagement, and you're going to grow strategically. That's going to happen. You're going to move beyond this passive viewing to active participation. So when you know your audience, when you know the numbers out there, and you begin to do things that correlate with those things, you're going to see some changes. It's not just passive people now. You can leverage AI-driven insights, and you can optimize your streaming. You can modify what you do with your streaming video. Maybe you do your messages differently. Maybe you just do something completely different. But you can achieve a deeper audience interaction, and the end result is you're going to foster some spiritual connections there. In other words, things are going to be much better. You're going to have deeper connections. You're going to probably have church growth. I don't guarantee anything. We can't guarantee anything, right? But you can see how this could change the way you do ministry, to line up with your vision, to line up with your goals, and you'll get deeper connections. There's a good possibility you'll get some church growth, at least spiritual growth. And we at streamingchurch.tv can help you with this. There's some guidance that we can bring to you. We've got experience, as we said earlier. We don't like to blow our own horn, but we will, at least to some degree here, because we want to help churches. It's all about helping churches. Right, Michael Gray?
Absolutely. That's what we do. So access to expertise. We have, as Steve said earlier, pretty exhaustive, very diverse backgrounds. So
Really
between
do.
us, we can have some really comprehensive coverage on things you need help with. Whether it's my lane of marketing your church. Oh, shoot, we used to have a $50 budget way back in the day. $50 budget for marketing each month, and I threw that into Google Ads, and we were cranking immediately. Right off the gate, we were hitting people all over the world because that's what we were targeting at that point. And we were getting attendance from all around the world for our live services, and it was fun. It was a blast. And I love doing that kind of thing. But then again, as Steve has walked through this process, he's built this machine on the back end. If you're with streamchurch.tv, you'd be crazy to not use the tool because it's amazing.
That's for sure.
But then also we have media mentoring, and that is when you want to dig and go much deeper. You want to go deep. You go connect with Graham Spencer and his mediamentoring.net. And he is a pro at helping you build a strategy that does what you want it to do. And I find him, he's done some webinars with us, and he's a great partner with us. And we would love for you guys to sign up, mediamentoring.net, as you can see on the screen there.
Yeah. And he's got some free, quick 10-minute tools that'll go through and do a digital media assessment or digital ministry assessment based on this kind of the state of your church and give you some recommendations. And then he has some courses that you can sign up. Some of them are free as well, where they're video-based courses that are, it might take a few hours to get through, but they're very good. He knows his stuff, and he's helped a lot of ministries achieve their goals.
And by the way, he's over in the UK. He's actually in Scotland. And a little footnote here, pray for him because and this is public knowledge. If you go to LinkedIn and look for Graham Spencer on LinkedIn, there's a video of him talking about he had extensive surgery for cancer. And so he's going to be laid up a little while because it was a very, very long and serious operation. But he did the video obviously before the operation. But if you want to check out LinkedIn and find Graham Spencer. But the good news is, even though he may not be able to communicate with you for a while, he has got some great videos here, as Steve just mentioned, some great tools. And you'll enjoy it by going to mediamentoring.net. And there's all sorts of training stuff in there. And just a wonderful guy and some great access to some great advice on video. And a lot of it is free. So take advantage of it and pray for Graham as well as he has a good recovery. All right, let's just move on here real quick. We talked about how streamingchurch.tv has a digital ministry RX. That's what we showed you, even though you could do it yourself. But if you'd like to, you could take a 30-day free trial with us, and we will help you get started with your streaming video. We will help you with analytics. We'll do whatever we can to make your streaming as easy as possible and successful. And so we are available to you. As I said at the very beginning of this webinar, we are here to help serve churches. That's what we do. So just go to streamingchurch.tv to make a free trial. And we have other products, of course, other things that we do. We have Daily Dive 365. Check that out. That's AI oriented. We have the Church Solutions podcast. Mike alluded to the fact that we've had Graham on there before. So if you go to our podcast library, you can find some podcasts. And of course, the webinars, we've had Graham on the webinar as well. We've also have a blog that we do every week. Just go to blog.streamingchurch.tv and you can check that out. And of course, streamingchurch.tv that I just mentioned. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for your questions. So we have a lot of insight here, but I want to find out if these guys can really answer some of the questions. So, questions about this whole digital analytics thing and all that. What do we got here? So, I've got a few questions that came up, and I'm going to throw this out to probably Steve or Michael and see what they say. And if you have questions and you're watching this live, you can type it into chat. And I don't see the chat right now. So, Michael, if there's something out there, let me know. But here's a question that came up. What's the typical aha moment, or I guess the most common blind spot churches discover when they first start analyzing their streaming analytics with the AI tool like the digital ministry? So what's the typical like blind spot that churches like all of a sudden realize, oh, I didn't realize that?
So that's a tough one. I would think that, the first piece is that it kind of assesses where you're at versus your goal and your description in kind of a summary. I think that would be one of the ones that would be, wow, this is based on where I say I want to go and what I'm doing in my history, it's going to be really challenging, or I need to make some significant changes to get there. So that's probably one of the more, I don't know if it's an aha moment, but it's a oh my gosh moment, I guess. Because most people aren't looking at their ministry relative to their data. They're kind of like Mike was talking to earlier. It felt pretty good.
Yeah.
This guy said it was a great sermon.
Yeah, I would say the epiphany is as you look at the data, how many people are actually attending it, and did you market it? Because if you didn't, no one's showing up. It's not like the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. You've got to do an inside the church marketing campaign and an outside the church marketing campaign if you want people to come to your church online experience and then connect with your church body.
Here's another question. How frequently should we be generating and reviewing these reports? And so I'm assuming here that the person asking this question is this a one and done deal, or is it a continual process? Are there maybe specific intervals that we should consider running these reports at? Should we do it twice a year? Should we do it every month? Should we do it, any thoughts on that?
Well, the last section of the report that comes out of the Streaming Church tool is what are your metrics that you need to monitor for achieve your results. So you're going to want to come back to those at least once a month and see if you're moving the needle.
Okay. All right. So keeping an eye on it once a month, it would definitely be probably a good answer to that, right?
Yeah.
Yes or
I
no?
would think so.
Okay. I think we kind of covered this, but let's address it anyhow, just in case. So how user-friendly is the process of setting up these analytics for somebody who's just not a data scientist or a tech expert? What's the typical time commitment for this initial setup? I mean, you went through it here, but what's the initial?
If you're using our tool, then you don't have to do any of the data collection.
I think this is a do-it-yourself thing.
Yeah, do it yourself. I went through the kind of the 10 key areas, and a lot of those, most churches probably have them fairly handy, or they can approximate them. So it's not going to take a ton of time, I don't think, for most of them. People are tracking attendance, you would think, and trends, and I don't know. Maybe you're asking the wrong guy. Because I would be. So, yeah.
I mean, a couple hours to set this up if you're a do-it-yourself person.
I wouldn't even think it'd take that long. So if you didn't have the data, then you just wouldn't be able to provide it. If I don't know what my small group participation is, then I would just leave that out. But yeah, most of it, I think you can.
Yeah, the takeaway here, I think, with this, besides the fact that this is a great tool, is that if you're not keeping some stats, if you're not keeping some analytics, you really need to. And if I understand, Michael and I have both been in a pastoral seat before. I was a senior pastor, and there's a lot going on. But maybe you could find somebody in your church that would help you keep track of people who are coming to the Bible studies, keep track of people who are coming to the Sunday night service, Keep track of people who are, in small groups. I mean, if you're not measuring some of those things, then you're navigating in the dark, right?
Yeah. There's an old term in the computer world, garbage in, garbage out. So
Well,
yes,
or no garbage at all. I mean, if you're not putting
yeah, that's
anything in,
true.
right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you have goals for your organization and you don't measure anything, how do you know if you achieved your goal? You want to grow by 10%. Okay, that's a measurable number. If you're not checking the data, then you don't know if you're on pace to do it. You've already met the goal or what the deal is.
I had somebody tell me one time, numbers aren't that important to us. And one of the things I said to him, this was in a ministerial alliance meeting that I was head of a ministerial alliance when I was a senior pastor. And he said, numbers aren't that big of a deal to me. I said, okay, do you count your offering? Well, yeah, we count our offering. Well, maybe it would be good to count some other things too, because they're important, right? All right, we're done here. Somebody had a question. What kind of support could I get from streamingchurch.tv and media mentoring? MediaMentoring.net. Well, we just talked about MediaMentoring.net. Go there and you can find out. But with us, we will do whatever we can to help you. So just reach out to us, support@streamingchurch.tv, or go to streamingchurch.tv. There's a little chat box. And if we're not there live, it's still there. You can ask us a question, tell us you need some help, tell us you're confused, or that we're out to lunch or something, and we'll be very happy to respond to you and help you in any way we can. Right, guys?
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, folks, I think that wraps it up here. Thank you so much for spending some time with this webinar. And it's available. It will be available online. And we have other webinars, as I said earlier, streamingchurch.tv/webinars. Check out our webinars. And again, can't emphasize it enough. If we can help you in any way, please reach out to us. My name is Phil Thompson. Michael Gray's been with us. Steve Lacey's been with us. Please take care of yourself and each other, and we'll catch you again on another webinar coming up soon.